this, but that way you told me once again how old I'm getting now. But let's go ahead. I mean, Donald Trump is going to take over his office in an atmosphere, in a very difficult atmosphere of utmost mistrust that not solely he's responsible for, and for which other powers than the United States, of course, are responsible. But to tell you frankly, the United States bear a good share of the responsibility of that difficult atmosphere now. This can be seen particularly at the example of Iran. Of course, Iran remembers the Gulf War of 2003, when a US-led alliance attacked Iraq, ostensibly to prevent it from using weapons of mass destruction, even though the decision makers in the West knew that no such weapons existed at all. And this was probably also known in Tehran. And because the decision makers in Tehran understood that they could be attacked any time under the accusation of possessing weapons of mass destruction, even if they did not have any, they decided to acquire them. And I can't blame them for that, because anything else would have been foolish. Since 2003, however, it has been clear that there can no be deal between the United States and anybody else between renouncing weapons of mass destruction versus protection from military aggression. And I think many governments around the world, they have just drawn their conclusions out of that. Iran now possesses production facilities for nuclear weapons that can probably only be destroyed with nuclear bombs. So far, not even the Biden administration has allowed the Israelis to do this. Conversely, the Iranians have demonstrated that they are very well capable of hitting targets inside Israel and overcome the highly praised Israeli air defense system for this purpose. There will be no unilateral military solution to this conflict, I guess, like many other conflicts as well. As far as Israel is concerned, of course, Trump is massively restricted in his freedom of action. We all remember probably Benjamin Netanyahu's appearance in the US Parliament, where he was received with standing ovations and where he was able to dictate the Biden administration's foreign policy with the help of his supporters. It is not yet clear whether Trump wants to prevent this at all, or whether he has to allow it. That will be a very interesting point in the future. However, we must be aware that his image and the image of the United States depend very much on his behavior towards the ongoing genocide in Gaza. He has a few months left to blame the Biden administration for the genocide against the Palestinians, but this window of opportunity is not open forever. On the other side, Erdogan has already proven several times that Turkey is perfectly capable of pursuing its own independent foreign policy, and the Trump administration must now do everything it can to prevent a confrontation between the NATO ally Turkey and the US ally Israel. With regard to the war in Ukraine, Trump is the scapegoat for the war. All he has to do for this purpose is to refer to the Biden administration's response to the Russian initiatives with regards to European security from December 2021. And these initiatives contain also the concessions that the Kremlin expects from a US president if the war in Ukraine has to come to an end. This will not please the US European allies, but Trump's latest statements that Mrs. Sepp-LaRouche just mentioned do not suggest that the opinion of Western European countries is particularly important to him. His statements regarding European territories and the level of military spending by Europeans are unacceptable, and I guess he knows that too. The war in Ukraine has shown that Russia is perfectly capable of standing up to the USA and cannot be brought to its knees so easily by economic or military coercion. Vladimir Zelensky may have promised Joe Biden, the latter in particular. Maybe Biden just made use of Zelensky's inexperience in order to motivate him to play with fire, a game that went wrong on 24th of February 2022. So the Europeans who believed they could bring Russia to its knees with the help of the Biden administration behind them could soon find themselves without US support and face the full force of Russia's anger. Similarly, I think Biden has probably exploited Chancellor Scholz's political weakness to organize the destruction of Nord Stream 2. We probably all remember the scenes on the green in front of the White House when he declared that he would stop Nord Stream 2, probably without having informed Scholz beforehand. Scott Ritter said it quite often in the interview just mentioned. Trump is not a friend of the Global South, not a friend of BRICS, but the Global South has also realized that military pressure from the West can be resisted, and they will seek advice from Russia on how to do this. They will need time, of course, to build up the necessary capabilities, but I have no doubt that they will succeed. The most urgent problem for Trump at the moment is probably the threat from the de-dollarization of the global economy, particularly from the BRICS countries. The Global South is probably not yet able to resist attempts at economic pressure by the Trump administration. So Trump should tackle this problem before the anti-access area denial capacities or capabilities of the Global South are sufficient, and they are working on that. So to come to an end with the prompt global strike program, the Biden administration has continued on the path to total military dominance worldwide. An expression of this will is the stationing of a multi-domain task force in Germany, which is basically a strategic missile brigade. A brigade which can punch holes in an anti-access area denial system with the help of which countries are defending in the future themselves from external intervention. So this multi-domain task force, the build-up of these brigades is far more than alliance defense, as people will try to tell us in the near future. Overall, I think Trump must now decide which problems he wants to tackle and in what order to tackle them, and which conflicts he wants to avoid, and some of them he should, and which ones he wants to get involved in. I think his actions in relation to strategic weapons in Germany, with regards to a ceasefire in Ukraine and a possible attack on Iran, will show how he assesses the priorities and urgencies. So I think in the 2 or 3 months after the 20th of January, we'll be able to make a number of very interesting and very telling observations for the future of Donald Trump's term in office, and probably far beyond that.